Wolverine and Spider-Woman have a lot of history together that is unknown or just unnoticed. Let me show you what I mean by exploring their comic book lore. This is Year's Best, Week 28. In 1988, on Wolverine issue number 2, Wolverine met Spider-Woman for the first time in the lawless island of Madripoor. Lindsay McCabe recruited the help of Patch, Logan's undercover persona. She needed help finding her missing friend Jessica Drew. The Silver Samurai busts in like the Kool-Aid Man looking for the Muramasa blade, also known as a dark or ebony blade. He picks up a fight with Patch because why not, with the two not realizing they have crossed paths looking for the same person, but for different reasons, because when Jessica pulls up on the scene, she's wielding the Muramasa blade. She's consumed by the cursed blade, which made her attack her friend Lindsay, but she was stopped by Patch. She takes off. Side note, this is the first time Jessica showcases her spider powers after losing them. The blade could have returned her powers partially because after this, her powers fluctuated through the years. If anyone knows the blade to have this kind of side effects, please let me know in the comment section. Back to the action. They have a scuffle. Patch manages to take the blade away from her hands, but in return, he's now under the blade's influence. Next issue, the resourceful Lindsay recruits the aid of the samurai to save Jessica from the possessed Patch, who somehow amassed a cult following and was going to sacrifice Jessica in an occult ritual under the influence of the blade. This whole charade was stopped fortunately. The blade returned to its rightful wielder and Patch took Jess and Lindsay back to the city. These three wine and dine their way into the top of the criminal underworld of Madripoor. Later, Jessica tagged along to help Archie, Patch's close friend and pilot. Archie needed help in a family matter. This adventure resulted in Jess and Patch fighting vampires in the streets of San Francisco. Logan deciding to drop the Patch persona, which just let him know he took long enough with the Patch nonsense, and they jumped off a free-falling plane together just to be caught on their way down by Archie, an insane stunt. Wolverine, unable to letting it go, when they were on steady ground, he asked why no one said anything about the Patch persona. This was Jessica's response, and I think we can all agree. Later, during an infiltration mission, Jessica was attacked and sent to the hospital by this robot, and Wolverine took that very personally. Fast forward to issue 125, Hydra had established operations on the island of Madripoor. They managed to take control of a bunch of the X-Men and other heroes, including Jessica, and they sent them after Wolverine. Reluctant at first, but with no other choice, Wolverine fought them. Once Madame Hydra, aka Viper, revealed she was the one pulling the strings, Logan agreed to marry her, and in return, he'd leave his friends alone. Around the same time, the Heroes for Hire were given a mission that took them to Madripoor. Their contact ended up being none other than Jessica Drew, who was working as a private eye in the island. They kicked some bad guy butts together until Wolverine showed up. Since all of their interests aligned, Jess and Wolverine ended up teaming up with the Heroes for Hire. Fast forward again to the new Avengers Volume 1. Although that was not Jessica Drew for half the run, and in fact none of the heroes knew, we can still appreciate how their relationship developed through this time. For instance, on issue 32, the new Avengers are traveling by air when the plane malfunctions. With the weight of Wolverine and Luke Cage alone, they start to lose altitude and gain speed fast. Knowing they could die in the crash, Logan mentions to Jess that she should fly her way to the ground, but Jess didn't want to leave the team. She was a ride or die, but Logan is not having it. So he kicked her off the plane. In his own way, he showed that he cares. Believe it or not, it wasn't a bad decision. The plane crashed and the only one that walked away unscathed was Jessica. On issue 36, a very infamous issue for this shower scene, Wolverine infiltrates Avengers Tower all the way into Jessica's shower. The tension there was not one of sexual tone, it was of distrust. Wolverine wanted to be sure Jessica wasn't a Skrull. At this point, he didn't know who to trust. She denied being a Skrull, of course, a complete lie, but he couldn't know. In reality, no one could. The Skrulls' shape-shifting had evolved so far ahead of any detection methods available on Earth at the time, including Logan's acute sense of smell. At the end of the secret invasion, everyone who had been replaced by a Skrull was released back into the world, including Jessica. Her first reaction was to hug her lifelong friend, Carol. Everyone was still suspicious of Jessica. After all, her face was the one front and center of the invasion. On New Avengers 48, after the invasion is done, Luke Cage's Avengers signal each other to leave. The only one from either side to approach Jessica was Wolverine. Initially, they don't welcome Jessica in their safe house, but Wolverine insists everyone to back off. He reminded them that Jessica got it the worst of all of them. He was not going to let her be on her own, not now. So finally and officially on this issue, we have Jess and Logan be Avengers together. Around the same time, Jessica had left the New Avengers to join Abigail Brand's organization called S.W.O.R.D. Her first mission was to go to Madripoor and hunt down Skrulls of all things. Ultimately, the New Avengers arrived to help her, and when Wolverine got brutally attacked by a Super Skrull, Jessica took that very personally. On their way back home, we see a quick heart-to-heart talk between our two heroes, explaining to you what Wolverine said won't be justice to the moment, so let's hear the man himself.
Who you working for now?
Agent Brand.
Yeah,
You know her?
I do.
Something to do.
Sure. But going hunting like this, it's a nowhere road.
I would have had it.
No doubt. But you went there to get a beating.
No.
Took me a long time to learn this. There's nothing wrong with going out and doing what you gotta do. Nothing at all. But when you're lost, you come home. You don't run away.
I don't know who... I don't know who my friends are exactly anymore.
Look around. You do now. Hey, I know you're feeling screwed over. I get that. But I promise you, I'm still the most screwed over person in the history of the universe.
In the relaunch of the Avengers for the Heroic Age, the roster was too big, so the heroes were split into New Avengers led by Luke Cage and the Avengers led by Tony Stark. Once again, Wolverine and Spider-Woman were teammates. Even then, Wolverine is here giving his friend Jess some heartfelt words of encouragement. On issue number 2, we have the 2-page spread that inspired this whole video. I don't know if this was done intentionally or not, but the way Romita Jr. portrayed them here makes sense to me. Call it what you will, horseplaying, ball busting. Brothers and sisters in the armed forces call it camaraderie. Finally, the most recent moment involving Jess and Logan that I read comes from the Avengers vs. X-Men issue number 6, where once again they stood side by side to face a most certain doom against the Phoenix 5. This is our stopping point. If there are any other moments, I will make a part 2 and share them with you as well. But for now, that's all I got. I really like the history these two characters share, and I would like to see it brought up to the surface in a future run. I'm here the Collector. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed day, and don't forget to read more comics.